Hello Capricorn, and welcome to your November 2025 reading. My name's Desiree, also known as Intuitive Gems. Okay. And I'm using my Gilded Tarot deck today. All right, so let's just get right into it. That's how I like to roll. All right, Capricorn, so what do we need to know as it relates to money, wealth, finances, prosperity, and abundance for the month of November 2025? What do we need to know for the sign of Capricorn? You got some really strong cards, Cap. You really do. All right, so King of Cups. All right, that's emotional intelligence. You know, your heart and your head are in the right place as we move into November. Now, this is really good because it means that your emotions aren't taking you on a wild ride. You're very grounded, right? You understand your feelings are feelings, but they don't necessarily dictate the decisions and the actions that you make or take relating money. And that's really, really good to be very grounded. We got the Nine of Swords and the Two of Swords. Oh, and the Knight of Cups and the Four of Cups. All right, so looking at these here, this is telling me to tell you, Capricorn, that this is more about eliminating some things and saying no to some things. And sometimes that's what we need to do in order to make space for what we want. So when we are trying to make more money, it's not about what do we add in. Sometimes it's about what do we eliminate and let go of. And that's what I'm seeing here. Because these are the cards of removing the things that are not serving us, or sometimes things that are costing us. Now, it could be costing us financially, but is it also costing us in other ways with time, energy, effort, emotions even? All right, so and this is a broken promise. All right, the Knight of Cups is somebody promised you something, Capricorn, and then they fall back on that promise. Now, this is not something that I think is going to be too heartbreaking for you, because I think you may have already anticipated somebody over-promising and under-delivering. That happens that first week of November. Don't take it personally. That's just kind of who they are. And like I said, with that Four of Cups, you definitely have to say no to some things, and these two cards could be related. All right, so it's what are we eliminating to make space for more money, more opportunity, more success, more ideas even to grow, you know, financially, or grow your business, or grow your career. Finally, we do have that Three of Cups. The Three of Cups means that there's going to be a celebration. All right, I do see that that could be a party or an event. Maybe you hear about it or you get the invitation at the end of the first week of November. All right, so I do see that this is a positive gathering. And the thing is you do want to go, because I have a strong intuitive nudge, Capricorn, that there's going to be a social event and you want to go because there's going to be a benefit. There's going to be a connection. You're going to meet somebody cool. You're going to learn something that's going to help you make more money, all right, or help you advance in some way. All right, so if somebody says, hey, would you like to come over, or I want to invite you to this thing, please go. All right, Capricorn, because there's an opportunity there for you. All right, so what else do we need to know for the sign of Capricorn as it relates to money, wealth, finances, prosperity, and abundance for the month of, all right, for the month of November 2025. Okay, Capricorn, let's see what we got going on. Let's see. All right, so we got the King of Wands, Page of Wands. Nice. All right, so you are being noticed. You are being observed, maybe even being studied to some degree. The other thing I see going on with this is good news as it relates to work. You may be being considered for a promotion, an advancement in some way. This is going to apply to some of you. Or there's going to be some other news good news that affects your business, your investments, or your career in some way. All right, I feel these two cards are related. Now we got the Page of Swords, unexpected news about something being stopped or discontinued. Remember, it's about what do we remove and eliminate so we can make more money. And this is going to be different for all of us. The Hierophant means going against the grain, doing things our own way. We don't have to follow the established pattern set in place as it relates to making money. You can create your own rules. You can create your own lane. That's what I feel like you need to do, Capricorn. Stop doing what everybody else is doing and come up with your own plan. Now, I know that may not be easy, but nowadays it's easier than it's ever been, right? You can ask ChatGPT. You can find a YouTube video, somebody doing what you want to do. All right. And it can be broken down step by step by step. Next up, we got the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands is a fantastic card. That's the card of stability. That's the card of a strong foundation. So I do feel, Capricorn, that financially, you're really getting stable here, especially in the second week of November. Now, it doesn't mean you're exactly where you want to be, but it means that you're not so scattered and not so all over the place and not so unsteady. The other thing is I'm getting that this is growth, right? Maybe you're just maturing as it relates to how you handle money and how you make financial decisions. So that's always good, like it really is. All right, so what else do we need to know for the sign of Capricorn? Ooh, okay. You're no longer feeling limited or stuck. You're making progress. You're making strong choices, and you're working hard, and you're making plans. All right, you're doing all the right things, Capricorn. You're doing all the right things, especially in the middle of November. All right, you're doing what needs to be done, and it's paying off. All right, so you don't feel discouraged. You don't feel limited. As a matter of fact, you feel encouraged, hopeful, and excited. You're doing the work. As a matter of fact, you're doing more than your share of the work, and it's paying off. You're not procrastinating. You're making decisions. You're making plans for the future. This is important as it relates to our money. Now, just because we don't have a ton of money doesn't mean we don't still structure our lives managing the money that we currently do have. And that's what I see you doing here. We also have the Queen of Swords. Now, the Queen of Swords, when I see her in the reverse, that means that there's still some things you need to let go of, Capricorn. Maybe you're not quite ready, but those are the things that could be getting in the way of you making the money you want to make. Now, this may not actually be physical stuff. This could be refusing to leave a comfort zone, refusing to do things different, refusing to implement new ideas or new instructions that you may have received. I get this question a lot where people say, well, you do these readings saying, oh, all this money is coming in, but I never see it come in. And then I ask them, well, what have you done differently? Because these readings are guidance for you to take new actions, maybe implement new ideas, explore new directions. But when I ask people, what have you done differently? What have you changed? The conversation stops. So I just want to clarify that, because clearly a lot of you are feeling stuck, but it's because you're not doing something different. All right. And maybe somebody needed to hear this, and that's why it came through, now in this reading. But look at this, the 10 of Cups. This is one of the most positive cards in the deck, my friends. So what you're doing is going to work. What you're doing is going to work. All right. Or it is already working. And you have confirmation of that here. Okay, Capricorn. So understand, it's not about just hoping and magically, more money shows up. It's about being inspired to do something that we're not already doing so we can create new portals. That's literally what that means. Create new portals, new doors for wealth and abundance and success to come our way. All right, so, oh, and then you got some unexpected news as it relates to money. Okay, we'll take it. Something from your past shows up at the end of the month. Your best option is to say no. All right, so let's take a look here. Four of Swords. Sometimes that's stepping back and evaluating. All right. King of Swords. Now, you've been getting a lot of swords this month, Capricorn. And remember, swords is about eliminating something that we don't need, that we need to let go of, that we need to remove to make room for what we want. All right. When the King of Swords shows up, that means we have to be diabolical. In other words, no apologies, no excuses. It's done. It's gone. It's eliminated. This isn't always easy. However, we can do it in baby steps if that's what it's going to take. All right. So the money you want is waiting as soon as you remove something that's getting in the way of it. Six of Pentacles. When I see that card in the reverse, that's a card that talks about overgiving, people-pleasing energy. It's a trap we all fall into in one point, at one point or another. But be careful that that's not derailing you from the direction you're going when you're making the money you want to make, Capricorn. Unexpected news. Now, just because this card's in the reverse doesn't mean it's negative. It just means it's a surprise. All right. Something you didn't see coming as it relates to your money. And I feel like it could be an opportunity because we do have this Six of Cups. Someone or something from your past shows up and you're like, I don't think so. Right? Don't be afraid to say no. Again, these three cards could be related, telling us here, don't be afraid to say no, move on, or just say, I'm sorry, that's not going to work for me. Now, here's where things get good. I love seeing that Moon card in the reverse because that means something that was once hidden from you becomes seen, becomes exposed, new information. In other words, you're no longer in the dark, okay? The Moon card means something that was once hidden from you is now revealed. It's brand new information. And because we're talking about money, we are talking about something you didn't know that you didn't know. Now you know, and that's going to unlock a new opportunity, a new pattern, a new idea, a new course of action for you to take. All right, that's a very powerful card to see in the reverse. So Capricorn, what I'm getting here is you finally see the results that you've been waiting for, that you've been working for. You finally see the results of your hard work. And a lot of it happens because you are eliminating things that no longer serve you or things that you may have outgrown. And it's time to step into a new phase, maybe even a new identity for some of you. All right. Remember, unlocking more money means unlocking doing something different because what you're doing now is not paying you like what you want it to pay you, which means you need to do something different. You need to step into some new actions, some new behaviors, some new thoughts, some new ideas. Okay. So Capricorn, you're finally going to see these results that you've been working for. Okay. Like you are, but a lot of it is going to come by you eliminating stuff, not necessarily taking on more, but letting go of more. All right. And like I said, it could happen in layers. It doesn't have to happen all at once. All right. So let's close out your reading with a Eternal Crystals Oracle card. We got, is it Zen Sight? I hope I said that right. Card number 44, physical body, root chakra. Ooh. All right, so pay attention to how you're feeling physically. Be grounded. If you can do some grounding outside, November would be great for that. I know sometimes the weather doesn't always allow. But pay attention to feeling grounded and stable within your own physical body. All right. So that's what I got for you, Capricorn. I hope you enjoyed this reading. I hope it was helpful. And thank you for spending this time with me. We'll do it all again next month.